You know how Jaguar Wright always seems to have her nose in everybody's business? Like some self-appointed drama correspondent who never clocks out? Well, she is back at it. And this time, her target is none other than Chrisean Rock. Jaguar is putting her on blast, accusing Crone of being a reckless and unfit mother who allegedly caused harm to her own child, Junior. But before we dive deeper into the mess, here is a twist you might not know. Jaguar and Crone are actually half-sisters. Yep, same bloodline, different sides of the feud. Let's unpack this tangled situation. That is right, you heard it correctly. During a live interview on Zbanga Entertainment, Jaguar Wright sat down with her older sister, Mick China. In the middle of their conversation, China casually dropped a bomb, mentioning that Chrisean is actually their half-sister. But Jaguar was quick to shut that down. She firmly stated that in her eyes, a real sibling is someone who shares both her biological mother and father, no exceptions, no blurred lines. Jaguar did not hold back. She made it clear, saying, "The truth is, I am the only child born to both my mother and my father, and my siblings always resented me for that." She acknowledged others might see things differently, adding, "If you choose to call her your full sister, that is your choice." But her words stirred up some serious backlash online. The internet has been buzzing with opinions ever since Jaguar Wright made controversial remarks about her relationship with Chrisean. While some viewers nodded along, others felt she crossed a line, especially when she seemed to suggest that the two were not truly sisters. But among the flood of comments, one viewer's take stood out. They called Jaguar's statement corny and immediately rejected the idea of dividing siblings by bloodlines. "We do not play the half-sibling game. A sister is a sister, and a brother is a brother," the comment read, firm and full of conviction. This statement resonated with many people who have grown up in blended families or been part of complex family dynamics. In today's world, where family structures are increasingly diverse, many people strongly believe that love, loyalty, and shared experience, not DNA percentages, define true siblinghood. Another viewer added to the conversation with a bit more context. They reminded others that even if Jaguar and Chrisean didn't grow up under the same roof, that doesn't make their bond any less valid. "They share the same mother," the comment pointed out. "That makes them full siblings. She would only be considered a half-sister if they only shared a father." This distinction is crucial in many family discussions, especially among children born into households with multiple parents, step-parents, or guardians. Legally and biologically speaking, children who share the same mother and father are full siblings, while those who share only one biological parent are often labeled as half-siblings. But emotionally and socially, those labels can feel unnecessary or even harmful. For families that have experienced separations, divorces, remarriages, and the merging of different lineages, rigid definitions can cause tension. When siblings are raised apart due to age gaps, custody arrangements, or different life circumstances, people often make the mistake of assuming they are less connected. But as many viewers noted, sharing a mother, regardless of age or upbringing, creates a lifelong bond. It does not matter whether two sisters were raised together or apart, their shared origin is still sacred. In the case of Jaguar and Chrisean, the age gap is another factor that some use to explain their different upbringings and worldviews. There's reportedly a 20-year age difference between the two, which naturally creates a separation in experience and life stage. When one sibling is already an adult while the other is still in diapers, it becomes much harder for them to have a typical sister-to-sister relationship. But that does not mean they are any less related, or that the bond cannot be nurtured later in life. Many people in the comments expressed how damaging it can be to put distance between siblings by using terms like half or step in a judgmental way. In some communities, especially those with a strong emphasis on family unity, such divisions are frowned upon. What matters more is the effort to build and maintain a relationship, regardless of how that relationship began. Blood might bring people together, but it is respect, communication, and love that keep them together. Others took a more reflective tone, pointing out how trauma and unresolved issues often drive siblings apart. In the case of Jaguar and Chrisean, some speculated that past pain, misunderstandings, or even jealousy may have contributed to the tension. The harsh reality is that families are not always picture perfect. Sometimes old wounds resurface, and people lash out in ways that make reconciliation difficult. But healing is still possible. The comments also highlighted the broader issue of generational pain, how trauma can silently move from one sibling to another, especially when the older one has witnessed or experienced things the younger one never knew about. Some viewers urged compassion for both women, suggesting that their public feud might be a cry for understanding rather than pure hatred. "Sometimes we do not get to grow up together," one commenter wrote, "but we can still grow together, later if we choose to." Another user explained how society often fails to support blended families in navigating these emotional complexities. Whether it's siblings with different last names or kids raised in separate households, there's an underlying assumption that those bonds are weaker. But people are starting to push back against that idea, as seen in the reactions to Jaguar's claims. Viewers were not just defending Chrisean, they were defending their own family structures and what they stand for. One deeply personal comment read, "I have 3 sisters, and none of us have the same father, but we grew up like triplets. My mom made sure we loved each other fully and never felt like halves. That's how you raise a family." Comments like these serve as reminders that many people grow up in non-traditional homes, and for them, family is more about what you build, not just what you're born into. The situation between Jaguar and Chrisean has struck a chord with thousands of people, not just because of celebrity drama, but because it reflects something very real. So many individuals have siblings they did not grow up with, or parents who treated some children better than others, or relationships that were lost due to misunderstanding. It makes the line between half and whole siblings feel even more artificial, and even more painful when weaponized. In the end, what really matters is the way we choose to define our connections. Families do not have to be perfect to be powerful. Siblings might argue, drift apart, or even fall out completely, but there is always a chance to rebuild, if both sides are willing. Words like half should never be used to measure how much someone deserves love, respect, or a place in your heart. As the conversation around Jaguar and Chrisean continues to unfold, many hope it becomes a turning point, not just for them, but for anyone watching who has struggled with their own family identity. Sometimes all it takes is one brave voice saying, "A sister is a sister," to remind the world what really matters. So before judging or taking sides, perhaps the better question is this: how are we showing up for the people we call family? Are we choosing division, or are we choosing connection? Because in the end, the titles matter far less than the effort behind them. It is clear as day. Jaguar and Croc are distant, estranged siblings, and honestly, no one's shocked. The massive age gap alone makes their disconnection understandable. On top of that, their lives could not be more different. Croc had the beauty, the figure, and the charm that made her a media darling early on. She secured fame and fortune. Fast Jaguar, meanwhile, did not have the same luck. And let's be real, there seems to be some lingering bitterness from Jaguar's end. It feels like she resents Croc for being the one who got the spotlight, the money, and the admiration, even though they share the same bloodline. Still, does that justify Jaguar speaking negatively about Croc's son? That is the real question. At the very least, Jaguar has never hidden how she feels. She made it clear from the jump that she and Croc are not close and probably never were. Mick China, on the other hand, was initially all about how Croc was her sister, her blood, her ride or die, and all that. Jaguar did not hold back. She went straight for the jugular. "Your head is seriously messed up, period," she said bluntly, challenging anyone to run back and repeat her words. According to her, Croc has completely lost her way. She accused her of putting Blueface on a pedestal, calling it foolish since, in Jaguar's words, "That's the same man who abused you." Jaguar did not stop there. She pointed out how Croc disrespected her own child, exposed him online, spoke negatively about him, and at one point, even refused to acknowledge him. "You had everything, Chrisean," Jaguar continued, "and you threw it away chasing someone who never valued you." She warned that the same blessings Croc was given could be taken away just as quickly. Then came the cutting line. "You are not my sister. I do not claim you. You switched up the moment you got a few dollars, and your ego took off." Jaguar made it clear she keeps her distance and wants no association. But while Jaguar was unloading her grievances, people online had their own takes. Many were quick to call out Mick China, labeling her a clout chaser who only mentioned Croc to get a taste of the spotlight. One commenter recalled how China once cried when Croc acknowledged her, saying she acted more like a fan than a family member. "She barely even knows Croc," the commenter added. "If you really care, speak to her privately. You are nearly 50, dragging your sister on the internet like a teenager." Another voice echoed the sentiment. "These sisters are clearly jealous of Rock. It is actually sad. I hope she keeps her distance from them. They do not want the best for her." To make matters worse, some alleged that China was not just chasing fame, but also trying to get access to Croc's wealth, despite being the same one accusing Croc of changing once the money came in. The irony was not lost on anyone. Another commenter chimed in with a hard truth. Just because someone in your family becomes successful, that doesn't mean they owe the rest of you anything. Go build your own lane. Their point hit home. Too many people feel entitled to what someone else has earned, and Chrisean's story is no different. Her relationship with her family has always been rocky. Arguments are frequent, and communication is often more like confrontation. In one instance, her own mother expressed disappointment, claiming Croc never listens. But Croc pushed back, insisting she does listen, and that the problem is being hung up on every time she tries to speak. "You hang up on me, bro," she said, frustrated. Even her full sister, Techie Malone, born to both her biological mother and father, has not been spared from the drama. During one of Croc's emotional live streams, she dropped a heavy claim. She said her disconnect from Techie went all the way back to childhood. She accused her of playing house inappropriately when they were young, a statement that shocked the internet and instantly turned public opinion against Techie. People were quick to drag her name, painting her in the worst light. Techie eventually responded, not with a fight, but with a quiet sit-down, trying to address the allegations and defend herself. She wanted a real conversation, clarity, something to clear the air, but Croc was not ready to rehash old wounds. She shut the door on that chapter, saying she just wanted to move on. "I'm okay in life," Techie said during their tense exchange. "But the backlash I get from what you said about me, that's not okay. You accused me of things that hurt. My name, my character." Techie insisted that no matter how upset she gets, she would never go that far in retaliation. Croc was unmoved. She believed everything she had said was part of her truth. "This is my truth," she repeated, firm in her stance. Techie tried to shift the conversation, to reach some understanding, but Croc was fixated on the betrayal. "Let's talk about you setting me up to get jumped," she demanded. For her, that event and what followed was not just drama, it was a turning point. And no apology or denial could erase that. While Techie hoped they could sit down, unpack everything, and maybe start healing, Croc saw it as a circle that kept leading back to pain. Both were carrying their own burdens, but neither was fully ready to put them down. "So when have I ever stood against you?" she asked. "You have always been with me." But the reply came quick. "What are you talking about? Help me understand. I'm genuinely confused." "No, you're not confused," came the response. "You're just running with a narrative. Now." Some people watching the emotional exchange began to express compassion toward Tasiki. In families as complicated and chaotic as Chrisean's, especially where parental supervision was nearly non-existent, these kinds of heartbreaking dynamics are, unfortunately, more common than many would like to admit. If Tasiki really did play house with Chrisean as a child, some speculated it might be because she was repeating what had once been done to her, or mimicking behavior she had seen elsewhere. After all, they were both children at the time. Still, while Tasiki might have buried the memory, the emotional damage lived on in Croc, becoming part of her personal trauma. Public reactions were divided. Some leaned into empathy. If Tiki did that, she was likely a victim herself first. "It's a terrible repeating pattern," one person noted. Others added, "Someone clearly hurt her first. Children don't just act out like that without influence." People should be asking who failed her. But not everyone was forgiving. Critics were fierce, and some voiced disgust. I can't take someone seriously who violated her sister like that. 15 years old, messing with a 7-year-old? That's not confusion. That's predatory. One person went as far as saying, "Your sister being prettier than you should not be what triggers something like that. That's not childhood. Confusion. That's deeply disturbing." Despite the chaos, many observers recognize that Chrisean has endured a painful life from a young age. Her parents were never together long. Her mother remarried, but that relationship only brought more turmoil. When asked whether her stepfather was ever in the household, Chrisean confirmed he was, and that he was abusive. "He was violent," she said quietly. "Not just yelling. He would beat on my mother and my sisters. He'd drag her into the woods, tear her up, then come back and line up all the girls. Even me, I would get pushed against the wall, and I had not done anything." And while this upbringing may offer some explanation for the emotional and mental wounds left behind, it did not excuse everything, especially not the way Croc treated her own son, Junior. Throughout her pregnancy, her battle with alcoholism left visible effects on the child. Whatever pain she had lived through, she was now passing along to the next generation. "Ladies, who's really been outside living real life?" The voice challenged, echoing with bold energy. "Let's see who's truly out here." Meanwhile, online speculations around Junior's health have only intensified. Social media users, acting as unofficial doctors, have pointed out signs like delayed hand-eye coordination and the sharp, distressed cries he makes. Many have labeled it crude death syndrome, a term being tossed around without medical confirmation. Everyone seems to have an opinion, and yes, even Jaguar Wright jumped in with hers. Known for her long-standing disdain for Chrisean, Jaguar